Willard, what I got on here? What I do? Yeah, I'm on here talking about food forest, people. Forests of food. That's right. Because I got a new fun thing. Oh, we're gonna bring this up right now. Look at that. Live 35 seconds. I'm gonna be on here talking about my new book. Just came out today. Beautiful, abundant food forest. An inspiring guide to designing lush, productive, edible landscapes. This is the first book I've ever done on food forests, which is funny. A lot of people consider me the food forest guy, and yet I've never done one of these. I've never done a book on food forests. I've got a bunch of books. My last couple of books have all been Amazon bestsellers, thanks to folks like you. But this is the first one I've done on this topic, food forests. I'm going to tell you about it a little bit, so I hope you'll hang out. And I'm going to talk about food forests. You're out there, you see this, you gotta stop and say hi. Well, I talk, yeah, I talk about food forests, baby. That's right. And you see me coming, better go and grab your shovel, baby. That's right. You see me coming, you better go and grab your shovel, baby, 'cause we gonna be planting a food forest. I want you to come and join me in this food forest land. If you join my life when I talk about food forests, you better say hello. That's right. When you see my live, you gotta say hello and ask me questions about a food forest, baby, yeah. 'Cause if you wanna have a food forest, baby, this is the place you gotta go. This is why I make food forests, 'cause I don't make very good lyrics. But if you've got questions about food forests or plants, I'm your guy. I want you to come out here and ask me all your gardening questions. That's right. I'm out here talking, I'm singing the songs, I'm feeling festive. I want to talk about this beautiful, abundant food forest. This new book that I put together, I'm very proud of it. Here, it's got, oh, look at this cover here. It's got different seasons of the food forest: winter, spring, summer, fall. Because the book talks about the food forest through the seasons. It is loaded with pictures of food forests. Everything in here is from the real world. You know, a lot of times you have books like this, and they're all theoretical. But everything in this book is from the real world, tested, tried, and true. And the real world, this one is about the great Native American food forest of the eastern woodland region. And this one specifically documents a food forest from Indiana that's original growth. Original growth area. There's a place in it where virtually every plant, when you look around, is an edible plant. So I have videos about this. This video has now been seen by something ridiculous like 12 million people. Well, it's a weird world, right? It's a weird age when you can make something on the internet and millions of people can learn about it and see it. And a lot of people ask me, well, specifically, how do I do that? What is that garden? What's in it? So in this book, I talk about that, designing a food forest, designing the parts of a food forest, the building blocks, guilds, and then I have this illustration that shows all of the plants for it and the design and structures of that food forest. And by the way, all of the art in this book, even though sometimes people think this is AI, a lot of these illustrations and pieces of illustrations are actually more than 15 years old at this point. These were first published in my first books, and actually before my first books, going back to my blog. Something I'm very proud of with this book is that it is AI free. There is no AI used in the making of this book, and I think that's important. It's important that all of the plans, all of the garden designs in this book were tried and tested in the real world, not just theoretical stuff that came out of my imagination. And that's one of the, I think, the biggest barriers in the permaculture literature and in the literature around things like food forest is that it all tends to be very hypothetical, very theoretical, but does it work in the real world? And in this book, it's all filled with things that have worked over a period of years from the real world. So I'm very proud of that. This is also the first time that another thing that people have asked me about, and it's filled with pictures. Virtually every page has a picture from a garden that I'm associated with or one of my own gardens, and gardens that I helped design. So, and all of them are gardens that are things that have lasted over a period of time. So I think that's something very special about the book, something that makes it a little bit different than any other book on the topic. So for the first time ever, it does have the plans and the complete plant list for the garden at Lily House too. So a lot of people always ask me about that. They want those plants. They want to know about that garden that was designed to grow a complete family diet on as little time as possible. And so I put that in here, and it's the first time ever that those garden plans, including the whole plant list of something like 250 species of plants, are all in there too. The Great Eastern Woodland Food Forest of North America. So I talk about this in the book. I do have a diagram and the illustration of the plant list for this as well. And I think this is another one of those things that is so important because tried and tested in the real world. Something so special about this is that this site that I document in the book is one of the only places, is literally the only place of original growth food forest, original growth forest in east of the Rocky Mountains. Every place else we logged. We logged it all. We cut down like every tree that was big enough to cut. We cut it down, except for this small spot. There is another one in northern Michigan, but it was not this food forest set of species. What's so special about this area is it was close to a Native American settlement, and they collected all of these plants. So there's a section of this forest that's original growth, and it is these plants. You know, the plants on this list. It is this. This is what is in that area. It's remarkable because you look around, and virtually every plant in it is edible, and it's highly productive. You look up into the overstory, and it's walnuts, and it's hickory nuts, and under those tons of persimmons. everywhere, and pawpaws underneath those, and lots of different shrubs. There's tons of the gooseberries and wild currants in the forest area. Underneath that, lots of brambles, lots of different berries underneath that. There's an area where the whole ground is just covered with fairy spuds, the fairy potatoes, Indian potatoes. Ramps are North American native leek, a very gourmet vegetable. Ostrich fern, which you can eat kind of like an asparagus, a shoot. And strawberries in some areas is just thick with it. It's just amazing. I have never seen more food in any farm field. And this is what I want you to think about it. Imagine we're talking about a system that where the Native Americans had been kicked out hundreds of years ago, and the land was given to the general who ran off the Native Americans, which is, to me, it's a horrible crime that happened, that people were removed. But at least they gave it, this one spot was given to a guy who was a nature lover, and he looked around at it while everything else was being logged, and he made his son promise that this piece of land would never be destroyed. It would never be logged. It would stay this rich food forest system. And they didn't realize that these were food forests that had been cultivated by Native Americans. They just looked around and saw this abundance of all these wild foods and thought, boy, the people who lived here sure were lucky. They just inherited and moved in, found this place growing wild where every plant is an edible plant. This is very special. We should keep this. We should keep this going. And they didn't have the knowledge that this was something that, like, oh, we're actually in somebody's garden. This is actually the people we just kicked out of here. This was their garden. But they just thought it was just wild like this. They at least had the foresight as nature lovers to maintain it, and they never cut it down. So we have this area where we have this original growth food forest that we can see. By the way, hi everybody, I'm on here live talking about food forest, talking about my newest book. It came out today. I'm feeling festive. That's why I got this here. I've been singing some songs, very silly ones. So think about this. Hundreds of years ago, the managers of this food forest, who kept it going by periodic timed burning, they would burn an area. It would be lush with berries and fresh vegetables after that. The fruit trees like pawpaws would regrow, persimmons in all of the sunnier areas. The area is just loaded with them. And so this amazing sort of food forest. And what's remarkable about this is here we are, hundreds of years later. By the way, thank you for the like. I appreciate that. Your likes, comments, interaction help more people find us. And the just remarkable thing about the system is here hundreds of years later, you can still go in there and it's loaded with food and all these edible species. And there's still areas of this park where you look around and virtually every plant is an edible plant. And that's just, think about that. Can you imagine making a garden that hundreds of years later, you stop working in your garden, hundreds of years later, it's still beautiful. It's still, it still looks like this. It's still a gorgeous place to be. It's still beautiful and filled with food, producing food, with nobody managing it, nobody taking care of it for hundreds of years, and it's still kicking out food with a ton of stability. If we get it right, that is ultimately the promise. That is ultimately the idea of a food forest and why we try to create these kinds of gardens. If you want to know, if you want plans for food forest type gardens and guilds, and you want to know how to build one, you want a book that's accessible, that's beautiful, filled with pictures, filled with illustrations, all made by hand, no AI in this, then check out Beautiful Abundant Food Forest by me, Michael Hoag, an inspiring guide to designing lush, productive, edible landscapes. And I think you'll like it. I'm very proud of it. It's been a long time in the making, and it's the book that people have been asking me to make. As the guy who talks about food forests on the internet, this is the first time I've done a food forest book. And believe me, actually, I started working on this more than 15 years ago. So this book has been in the making for like 15 years, and finally, it's out there in the world. Right now, it's mostly, I think, just available at Amazon, which, by the way, was another anthropogenic, huge man-made food forest we know now. And here it is, even today, after a lot of neglect and invasion. It's still very productive as a garden. So, if you would like to create a garden with that kind of power to it, I hope you'll check out my book. And hey, thanks for joining me. If you liked the live, if you want to see me doing more lives on here, check them out. Like them, send them to your friends. Let them know. I'll probably try to be on here Tuesdays and Wednesdays from now on. Have a good night, everybody. And ciao.